Think about it. Every single day you throw something away. Maybe it's a coffee cup, an old phone that finally gave up, a plastic wrapper. It just disappears from your life, right? Into the bin, onto a truck, and poof, it's gone. But what if I told you that for so much of our stuff, that's just the start of an incredible global journey? A journey that's probably more well-traveled than most of us. So it's about time we asked a really fundamental question.
It's such a simple question, isn't it? But the answer is unbelievably complex. Because in our world, there really is no such thing as away. There's only somewhere else. And that somewhere else, well, it's the foundation of a massive, hidden, global economy.
Just how big are we talking? Well, in 2024, the waste and recycling industry in the US alone was valued at over $104 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B. This isn't just about picking up garbage anymore. This is a colossal industry built on the things we decide we're done with. So come on, let's follow the money and the trash.
Okay, so our journey starts by completely shattering this myth of away. We're about to pull back the curtain on where our old electronics, our e-waste, so often winds up, and the very real price that gets paid for our convenience.
So, a huge chunk of e-waste from developed nations gets packed up and shipped out. A lot of it lands in places like Agbogbloshi, right outside Accra, Ghana. For years, this place was known as one of the world's largest digital graveyards. Literally, a landscape built from the ghosts of our old tech.
There's a really powerful term for this whole system, toxic colonialism. And it perfectly captures this deep imbalance, right? Wealthier countries with super strict environmental laws find it's just cheaper to export their hazardous waste. They're basically offloading the environmental and health problems onto countries with fewer resources to deal with.
In the cost, the human cost is just staggering. In these informal sites, workers, often without any protective gear at all, are using really crude methods to get the valuable metals out. They're burning bundles of plastic-coated wires to get to the copper, or using acid to dissolve parts away. This stuff releases a whole cocktail of toxic chemicals, and it leads to absolutely devastating health problems. One study found workers who burn e-waste have up to 4 times the level of certain toxic elements in their bodies. 4 times.
And this poison doesn't just stay in the dump site. No way. It gets into everything. Just look at this data from a study in Thailand. They tested free-range duck eggs from near an e-waste site. They had levels of toxic dioxins over 24 times the maximum level set by the European Union. These poisons seep into the soil, into the water, and right into the food we eat.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the paradox. For all of its toxicity, this global trail of trash is also seen as a trail of opportunity. What one person sees as a wasteland, someone else sees as a genuine gold mine. It's a crazy economic paradox with life or death stakes.
And here's the really difficult truth. For thousands and thousands of people, this incredibly dangerous work is the only way to make a living. In Ghana, this informal recycling industry actually generates up to $268 million for the national economy every single year. It's a deadly trade-off where you're basically choosing economic survival today over your health tomorrow.
This whole situation has given rise to a fascinating new concept, urban mining. So instead of digging into the earth for brand new ore, we're digging into our mountains of discarded electronics. These dump sites are, effectively, some of the richest and most concentrated sources of precious metals on the entire planet.
And when you compare it to traditional mining, the potential is just, wow, it's clear. Urban mining means we don't have to do as much environmentally destructive extraction. It conserves natural resources. And it taps into a supply stream that is, let's be honest, constantly growing. Our own trash. It's a core idea of the circular economy, right here in action.
Okay, so we've seen our trash as a toxic problem and as a valuable resource. But hold on, there's another transformation happening. What if we could turn our waste not just into materials, but directly into energy?
Thailand is becoming a huge case study for this. They're facing 2 massive challenges at once: managing huge amounts of city waste and trying to switch to cleaner energy. Their solution? They're planning to build 39 new waste-to-energy plants. It's a massive bet on a whole different kind of recycling. So how does this actually work? It sounds pretty futuristic, but the process is actually quite straightforward. Basically, super high-efficiency incinerators burn all this municipal waste at incredibly high temperatures. That intense heat boils water, which creates high-pressure steam. That steam then blasts a turbine, which spins a generator, and that generator produces electricity that feeds right back into the power grid, from a garbage bag to a light bulb. Pretty cool.
And this is not just a couple of small projects. We're talking about a booming market. This chart here shows you the competition just for the technology inside these plants. One single company, SUS Environment, already has about 35% of the market. The rest is split among a bunch of other players. This shows a really serious competitive industrial shift towards turning trash into power.
But here's the thing. Whether we're mining our trash for gold or burning it for energy, it all operates inside a global system. A system that's supposed to be governed by rules and regulations. And right now, that system is deeply, deeply flawed.
The official term for all this is reverse logistics. You know, we're all familiar with regular logistics, getting a product from a factory to your front door. Well, reverse logistics is the entire journey in the opposite direction. It's managing everything that happens after you buy something, from returns to final disposal and recycling. It's the entire supply chain just running backwards. You know, for decades, people have been trying to regulate this flow of waste. The Basel Convention back in '89 was the first big attempt to stop countries from exporting hazardous stuff. But as you can see from this timeline, its good intentions have been pretty much undermined. Major exporters like the United States never even ratified it, and its language has been exploited, making it, and I quote, virtually ineffective.
And this right here is one of the biggest problems, a massive loophole. It allows hazardous e-waste to be shipped all over the world just by labeling it as for repair. It's a loophole big enough to drive a fleet of container ships through, and it allows the whole toxic trade to continue, often under a perfectly legal pretext. The rules themselves have become part of the problem.
And what's wild is that even well-meaning top-down solutions can totally backfire. In 2021, the government in Ghana demolished the Agua Blashi site. They hoped to just get rid of the problem, but it didn't stop the recycling. Nope, the work just scattered across the city and its outskirts. It made it even harder to monitor, harder to regulate, and it potentially spread the pollution over a much, much wider area.
Which leaves us right here. Our trash is this massive paradox. It's a toxic burden that's poisoning communities, and it's a billion-dollar resource that's fueling new industries. It is a story of exploitation, and it's a story of innovation. So the real question isn't just where our trash goes, but what we as a society decide it's going to become. The choice, when you get right down to it, is ours.